Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. My name is Lynette, and I will be in charge of today's webinar. And that's my introduction. I've been working at Porters for almost 7 years in the Department of Sales, overseas sales, also system implementation. And currently, I'm working in the Global Marketing Department, handling global activities and supporting existing clients. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. This is the agenda for today. First, I will introduce Porters, and then I will touch on some of the essential data in recruitment business, share some success stories and recommendations, and then conclude today's session. Questions are very much welcome in this webinar. Please use the Q&A tab, but on the taskbar to send in your questions, either with your name or anonymously. Before we dive into the main agenda, I would like to give you a brief introduction about Porters. The company was established in Japan in 2001 with the headquarters in Tokyo, a branch office in Osaka, and a subsidiary in Singapore. The main solution offered by Porters is an all-in-one cloud-based ATS CRM. We have a client base of more than 2,000 companies in Japan and overseas. And we also have presence in 11 countries. Here, the ones you see are just some of our clients. To give you a bit more information about Porters ATS CRM, the system can be used in human resource businesses, such as recruitment, staffing, maid agencies, RPO, outsourcing, and such kind of businesses that operate on a matching base. As you can see in the image displayed, we have the client side and the candidate side, and also we have in the middle the recruitment process, which can also be referred to as the funnel. So all these processes and all this information can be managed in Porters. Porters also has a feature that you can easily link with other job media or even your website to automate some of the functions that you have to come across with in the recruitment business. On Porters system, you can also reuse the database, meaning once you input the information inside the system, and let's say it's a candidate that you refer to a certain position, and if the position does not succeed, it doesn't mean that the candidate information becomes redundant. You can reuse the candidate over and over, but still be able to keep the records. Another product of Porters is Porters Magazine, which publishes current market information related to recruiting and staffing industry. And we get the information by interviewing key players in the industry about various topics as far as human resource is concerned. These are some of the copies previously published that focused on 6 Southeast Asian countries. We recently launched Porters Magazine Asia. And if you'd like to receive new editions of Porters Magazine Asia, please sign up on our website and we'll send you the information. Now, with no further ado, I'd like to dive into the main topic of today. And it's about data-driven strategies. I'd like to introduce some data situations in recruitment. And in an ideal situation, it is when all the data is in sync and it's utilized to give maximum output. But the reality is that there are challenges related to creating and handling of essential data in recruitment. Some of the examples are the data input. Like, for example, you can do by hand, input by hand, which would depend on your speed, or automate, which may leave out some of vital information. There's also challenges about sourcing. How do you get very good candidates, or how do you get to connect with hiring companies? How do you conduct BD? How do you improve your pipeline conversions? Data, how it's handled within the company. Some agencies prefer their consultants not to share the data that they're working on. So when this data is not shared among other employees, how does that affect your performance? There's also another issue which can happen to any company, which is about turnover. So how do you handle that? Because it's inevitable. How do you handle that? How do you minimize the effect of the turnover? So the reality is that there are many challenges, and some of them are inevitable. Some of them we can actually handle them. And about data-driven strategies, so I'll look at some of essential data that will come across, and I will start with an example of business development, data related to business development, which is as a recruitment company or a staffing agency, you'll come across number of clients that you're working with. So how many clients do you have? How many of them are active? How many of them are non-active? The number of JDs that you're handling, how many of them are converting? How many of them have no processes or that are going or not converting? You may also be working with different roles in your recruitment business. So which of those roles are actually converting? Which ones of them are dormant, and what industries? Or even if all of them are converting, what is the rate? So these are kind of the information that we'll get to handle when doing the business development. And then another example is about candidate sourcing. When doing candidate sourcing, you may be doing direct sourcing or using media. And if you're using a media, is it a paid or unpaid media? And which one of the media is best for conversion? For example, getting candidates from LinkedIn may be performing differently from if you're getting it from a job board, let's say Indeed. It depends on which one works for you. So you need to have this information. And there's also the issue of conversion rate, or rather the data related to conversion rates. For example, from the time you source a candidate, when they go through the screening process, the interview, placement, and joining a company, how is the conversion? It is important to have an idea of how this information, how this data is converting to the next process. And another piece of essential data is the number of placements that are made, or the amount of revenue that is generated out of a placement. This could vary depending on the recruitment agency or the clients you're working with or the role. There are many variations that could be in this piece of essential data. But as a company, I feel like it's essential to know which clients actually placements you can make placements to, or which industries have proven that are working for your company or the roles. So this kind of data, I think it's essential for recruitment agencies. Another essential piece of data is the unit price. You may be working with different roles, but in reality, each role could have a different unit price. By unit price, I mean the amount of revenue generated from one placement. You might find that some roles are quite difficult to fill, and when you fill the role, the fee that you get out of the role is quite high, which is good because the effort that you put or the time that you put into working on that, the returns are actually higher. But you may also be working on some other roles that are very general and easy to fill. And most of the time, this kind of roles, the unit price is much lower. So you need to have many of them to be able to see some impact in your business. These are just some of the examples in the essential data in recruitment. So the good news is that some of these challenges can actually be countered within the organization. And how to counter that is in form of company policy, employee training and education, automation of repetitive and administrative tasks. So in terms of company policy, the company can create a framework where all the employees or all the consultants work by, and also create a powerful database such that it is easy to get information that is needed to make a recommendation to a client, or also to a candidate that could tell the candidate, we have this job, these jobs that could be suitable for you. So in that case, if it's easy to access the information, if it's easy to update it, and if there's a lot of that information built up, it is actually very good for the company. Then there's also the employee training and education. Training is more of teaching them how to do things, how to do this, how to do that. But education is more of why we're doing this. So when you tell your employee or your consultants that we need to consolidate data, that is more of training, or consolidate the information, consolidate the candidates that you're handling. That is employee training. But when you explain to them the reason why we need to consolidate the candidate information, that, for example, if you have a candidate but you have no position for them, another colleague could be having a position that's suitable for this candidate, and then it could be a win situation for their company. In that case, it's educating the why things are done a certain way. And then there's automation of tasks, because in recruitment, there's a lot of things you need to do, emails to be sent, calls to be made, documents to be created, a lot of things are going on, meetings to be set. So if some of these tasks can be automated, more time can be delegated to talking with candidates to try to find out where they fit, or talk to hiring companies to understand what exactly they're hiring for, and more information that will help you to find suitable candidates to fill in the positions. So in that case, you have better quality of recruitment. So if these challenges related to essential data is well addressed, then you can expect to have a systematic operations and be able to easily identify bottlenecks and formulate strategies to resolve them. Now, I would like to share with you success stories from 3 of Porter's clients. 2 are in Japan and one client is outside Japan. These companies have heavily attributed their success to standardization of business process flow, which I will talk about later. First company is Human Global Talent, which experienced a revenue growth of 197% year on year, and individual productivity of the consultants 157% growth from the previous year. The second company is Rirako in Singapore, which saw their revenue grow 4 to 5 times fold, and were able to expand to 21 branches in 10 countries in a span of just 7 years. The last company that I'd like to introduce to you is D&I, which experienced a job candidate match rate of 300% increase, and a candidate submissions of 200% increase, and individual consultant productivity increased to 120% from the previous year. As mentioned, these companies heavily attributed their success to standardization of business process flow, which could easily be followed by the new joiners, and also helped the companies to identify areas in their business flow that needed improvement. Next, we will look into the details of standardization of business process flow. As mentioned in the beginning, Porters has a client base of more than 2,000 companies, and also with our product of Porters Magazine, we've been able to interact with over 3,000 business owners in Japan and overseas. Through our software solution and also through Porters Magazine, where we publish interviews from players in the industry, we have analyzed stories from clients and these industry players. And it was clear that the game changer for success in recruitment business was standardization of business process flow. Standardization can start from anywhere and any part of the recruitment process flow. But generally, the recruitment business, you need to get candidates and you need to get the jobs. So you can either start your standardization from the time you acquire a new client or from the time you source the candidate. So depending on how your company approaches recruitment or how you work, you can standardize the process from any part of that flow. Standardization is complemented by other contributors. The supporting contributors to this, especially to the success stories I've shared with you, were visualization of progress. And this means that when you're working, you're doing your normal day-to-day recruitment job, if you have a visual representation of where you are, where you need to be, where you were last time, it's easier to work towards achieving your goal. So these companies also attributed their success to being able to visually see where they are and where they need to be. There's also establishment of goals or reviewing current goals. I believe each and every company has a goal they're working towards. So the goals that you have, you need to keep on reviewing them from time to time based on your performance or based on the new developments in the business. And you keep on working on them, building up on them, and seeing what works best for you. There is also improving individual and collective productivity. Even though as an individual, good performance is important, it's also important to know how to work well with your colleagues so that together you're able to go higher and further. So by improving your individual productivity, you can track to see what works for you, how you can work smarter and better, and share this information with your team, and then together you're able to move forward. And that is linked with deployment of best practices, because in the process of improving yourself or how you work, your work style for better performance, you're able to identify some tracks that worked, and with that you can deploy to other consultants to see if also the same can work for them. And probably in the process you'll also be able to discover some new practices that work even better. So in that process, keep on deploying best practices among the consultants. And also another key factor is centralized data management system. If the data is centrally managed, it means that all the consultants have the same or somehow the same access to information. If anything is being updated, everybody has same updated information, and therefore it creates a balanced play field for all the consultants to be able to perform on. So after this information has been centrally managed, it's important to keep this cycle moving repeatedly and keep improving each aspect of the cycle. It is also important to define elements in the business process flow because standardizing the process has a deeper meaning. So discrepancies in this process, in data entry or reporting, or unproductive recruitment pipeline could actually harm the flow. So a step to deal with this is, for example, to define at what point a candidate is considered ready to be introduced to a client for a certain role, or at what point is revenue considered as earned by a consultant. So there are many things that need to be defined in the recruitment process, but this is just an example to say that if these levels or these stages are defined properly, then it's easier for the recruitment consultants to be able to work on the same field and be able to perform better. As mentioned earlier, the successful companies attributed their success to standardization of business process and also visualizing progress. So by visualizing progress example is to being able to view or visually see how many number of interviews you are currently having, how many placements you've made, and how many you are expected to make further, how much revenue you've made or expected to make, and consultants' activities. That means how many new candidates you spoke to, how many BDs you made, and that kind of information. And then there is setting up goals and clearly following up on them. And in that case, you need to keep on analyzing the progress. So we've set the goals to this target. How are we currently doing? How are we currently performing towards that goal? And keep on improving. And of course, for each individual consultant, you need to identify areas of focus. You need to clear bottlenecks that may come up. You need to measure your progress, and measuring your progress, you keep on improving the speed and the volume of your work. Finding best practices at each stage and running the PDCA cycle help them improving each time, and therefore they were able to register the results that I've shared with you. So next, I'd like to introduce to you an example of how you can work towards building data-driven strategies. So there are 3 key points. First of all, take stock, learn, and do Kaizen. And I'll get deeper into those in a moment. So I'll start with how to take stock. Take stock, you need to analyze, first of all, how is your data currently being managed? And are there any challenges that are coming with that type of data management? If so, what are the challenges? How can you counter those challenges? Second one is about learning. It's always good to learn from each other within the company and also from other businesses in forums like this one. You can refer to the success model that I shared earlier and see how it applies to your business, and see also if with that you'll be able to identify some areas that need improvement. And then there is Kaizen, which is a Japanese word that means keep improving. So you need to identify improvement points and keep finding best practices each and every time. Now I'd like to move on to the recommendations to be able to building data-driven strategies. And the first recommendation is in reference to candidate acquisition. And the recommendation is to capitalize on the sources that have proved to work better for your company, and also actively source for candidates that are easily placed based on your experience and promote them to potential clients. The next one is building a powerful database. Without data, there will be no insight. Therefore, it is important to have data for your company. A powerful database is asset to the company and can be maximized to full potential. As briefly explained earlier, a case whereby consultant sources for a very competitive candidate in the market, but this consultant does not have a suitable position to offer to this candidate. So if the consultant decides to end the conversation there, then that process ends there. But there's a chance that there could be somebody else within the company that is handling some other job that could be of interest to this particular candidate. So if this information is shared company-wide, then it makes it easy. It makes it easier for the other consultants to know that there's this very competitive candidate that exists, and I have a position that could be of interest to them. So by doing that as a company, you're able to make a placement, or rather stand a chance of making a placement, as opposed to if only one consultant was in communication with this candidate or has access to this candidate and has no other information that could be of use to this candidate. So in that case, it also builds teamwork and also benefits the company, because if a placement is made, it's good for the company. Another positive impact about having a strong database is that it also minimizes the negative impacts when a consultant leaves the job, because it's inevitable. People grow out of positions, people maybe find other opportunities elsewhere or would like to change to explore something new. So in that case, if the data is consolidated, then it's easier for the company to be able to track what's happening and also be able to hand over to the next person. So these benefits of data being an asset should be well communicated to the consultants, and also as a company to provide relevant tools so that there's a smooth flow of operations. For example, invest in automation and also linkages application. For example, to link a database to a media or something of the sort. Next recommendation is about business development. If a company can identify and prioritize BD targets according to, let's say, the industry and roles that easily convert, this is also based on the experience, or the clients whose processes move fast, roles that have higher unit price or unit fee, and clients with higher potential, then it's more about working smart and fast. And as you all know, speed is quite key in the recruitment industry. So if this is considered, maybe there could be a better strategy towards business development. And the next recommendation is about the conversion rate. You need to clearly define each stage in the recruitment pipeline and communicate the same to the consultants. And this could also be used as part of the KPI. You also need to monitor the conversions and identify best practices, and at the same time strategize to get higher conversions. For example, if only 20% of your new candidates convert to interviews, there could be a problem between the process of sourcing and an interview, preparing for the interview. So it's something you could invest more time to investigate and know why that's happening. Or if you are having interviews but they don't convert to placement, could be that there could be an issue with the closing. So that's something that needs to be worked on. And another recommendation to management is to put in place guidelines for operations, such as centralized data to have centralized data, and by that leads to having one source of truth. So no matter who is accessing the database, they all get the same information. If the consultants are required to give a report of what they're doing or how the numbers are every week or monthly basis, they're getting this information from one source of truth, which helps the management to create better plans and better strategies for the future. And also it's important to educate the consultants about why these guidelines are there or the benefits of having these guidelines. So with the named recommendations, we expect to be more aware of the company's current state, identify areas of improvement, and work towards improving them. So if this happens, you have visualization of current state. You implement Kaizen, means that you keep on improving each and every time. You increase efficiency of your work. And with the increased efficiency of your work, you're able to monitor the results as well. And based on the results, keep on building new strategies. Excuse me. We expect that you will be able to grow with that. So consultants will also be able to work with a clearer picture of their goals, and the company can build growth strategy based on the actual state of the business. And now in conclusion, I'd like to say that as a company, it is important to know where you are so that you can strategize better where you need to be. This can be enhanced by the use of data. By standardizing business process flow, you will be able to track well your business activities, which is in form of data. You will also help your consultants to work efficiently. It will be easier to identify bottlenecks in your operations, and work towards eliminating them. You can then build strategies based on your current situation and grow your business. Porters is your partner to support your business to achieve success. We have the experience and industry knowledge to tailor our support to your business needs. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to take your questions. Please type them in the Q&A tab, either with your name or anonymously. I have a question here. Do you have suggestions on how we can improve our sourcing strategies? And yes, I think I can advise on this one. So I wouldn't say there's one particular source or one particular media that will work well for you. It heavily depends on your region. It heavily depends on the type of roles that you're working with. Yeah, but in this day of social media and a lot of information being out there in media, it's possible that you can try different channels for sourcing. And then with time, you will be able to identify which one works best for you. And then if you can identify that, then you can just focus on that. And also, I will heavily advise on automating some of these activities. For example, if you have to send emails or scout, let's say 1,000 scouts in a day, it's quite like cumbersome. So if there's a way you can automate that process of scouting, then it means you can reach more candidates and probably increase the chances of getting more responses to these candidates. I hope that answers your question. If not, please just write a follow-up on that and I will address it. Okay, another question here. Thank you for your wonderful session. Just to confirm, Porter's offers recruitment tool can help to source effectively. Let me answer. I cannot say 100% yes. Let me just explain what Porter's offers. So we have an ATS CRM that can help you to effectively and efficiently handle your candidate data and your client data, job data, and also the recruitment process information. And that includes to an extent also sourcing, effective sourcing for candidates. As I mentioned earlier, just one example, that sending an email to a candidate one by one or trying to send a scout to a candidate one by one, it could be cumbersome. So we also have some features where you can automate some of these activities. So in terms of sourcing or even registering new candidates. Also, if you get a new candidate, if you have to input them by hand, one by one, it takes a lot of time. But we have some automated features that help you to, just like get the candidate information from their CV and input them into the system automatically. We call it CV parsing. Maybe some of you have heard about it. Yeah, so I will say so. Again, if my answer is not very clear, please just type a follow-up and I will respond to that. But I'll be happy to introduce to you how the CV parsing works. So please send me a message or contact us and I'll be able to organize a session for you for this. And I have another question here. If we were to use Porters, can it also automate our KPIs as well? The answer is yes, but I'd like you to understand that different companies have different meaning or ideas about KPI. So if you can explain further what you mean by KPI, then I'll be able to guide you better. But for now, I can tell you, Porters, there's a dashboard where you can follow up. You can set the period, for example, this month or this week, and automatically be able to see each consultant's numbers, how many new candidates they had or how many interviews they've had this week or this month. Yeah, we're able to get that information. Also, we have a report function. We're able to generate report based on any information that is on the system, which most of the time, the report is about the KPI, about the numbers, how many new clients, how many DBs were made, how many actions were done on the system, this kind of information. I hope that answers you. Another question, can we personalize the portal's dashboard based on our organization KPI? Yes, I'll answer that as yes, but again, I'll go back to what you mean by KPI. Yeah, so I'll go back to that. So for now, my answer will be yes, but please, if you get a chance, please send me a message either on LinkedIn or send us an email, and I can have a very brief session about this, and I can show you how it works, and then you can see if it works for you or not. Thank you very much. And just to add on, maybe I should put up the slide for better understanding. The introduction of the success model, the model for the recruitment business process flow. It doesn't matter how you manage your data. It could be using an ATS or CRM. It could be on Excel. It could be whichever way it is. You can still draw this kind of picture for your organization. So even if your company is very small and there's only one you working in it, or there's two of you, it could be in a big company that has hundreds of consultants. That's okay. It doesn't really matter how you're managing the data right now. Any tool that you're using, or if you're not using any tool, it doesn't matter. You can still create this image and see how your company is working. So I'd like to thank you very much for joining me in today's session. I hope it was an informative one and that you gained some ideas of how you can leverage data to strategize business growth for your company. Please take a moment to participate in our survey about today's webinar. We would like to hear your experience to help us give better services in future. If you have any inquiries, please feel free to reach us, and we'll also upload this recording of this session to our YouTube channel. Please feel free to share with your colleagues and friends who could not join us today. So from now, I will stay behind to take any of the other questions that will be coming in. And those ones who do not have a question, you can feel free to leave the session. Again, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you again.